Welcome back to Raptor Handling and Training. As you can see, we're on the vineyard. These grapes are almost ready to be picked. This video is about ringing starlings on the vineyard, with the bird this video is dedicated to, Roll. She laid eggs this year and retired. Here's a face you've probably never seen before. Man's best friend. Anytime I can, I bring him to work with me. And he's a pretty accomplished abatement dog.
See a squirrel? Is there a squirrel?
Chief on his list of responsibilities would be squirrel control. This vineyard is riddled with California gray diggers. They like the grapes, and the irrigation, and the roots. Unfortunately, he's not very good at his job. But he's good at other things, like finding birds in the crop. And he'll kick them up if they're hiding in the plants. But let's get back to Roll. I was fortunate enough to raise Roll from a chick. I creche raised her with two other abatement birds belonging to another falconer. In this way, she was dual imprinted both on me and the other two chicks. It creates a bird that is likely to breed naturally someday, but still very well adjusted to the world of humans. I don't get this luxury with all of my abatement birds, but when the opportunity comes up, I'll take it. Allowing Roll to go into a breeding project is about the biggest thank you I can give her for all her hard work. Hopefully she'll be able to make more like herself. This flight with Roll was actually recorded a couple of seasons ago. I have edited this video several times, trying to pare it down from a half an hour long to hopefully what it is now. This is hopefully the last time. I think it's a good representation of the kind of work that she does. So we're going to talk about a number of different things in this video. You're going to learn a little bit about falcons and how they hunt and what they're doing on the abatement job. Maybe some things you haven't seen before. That's my goal. On this day, the weather was really good, and Roll climbed really fast. Right there is where I released her. I would guess she's probably a couple thousand feet up now. Here in just a moment, you're going to see where I think the starlings are. Now, I don't think they're there when I release Roll. I hadn't actually seen any starlings. But because I have them in the mornings and the evenings, I figured there was a chance she was going to find some at this time of day. Now, Roll's course and behavior kind of indicates that she sees something over here. And this is an area that we're going to come back to later in the video. But she's going to course correct off to the right. And it's an indicator that she's either seeing starlings here or she's seen them move out of our field of view and she's going to pursue them to the right. But she's gaining speed using her elevation. It's kind of like she's stored energy in her altitude and she's reclaiming it, building speed up as she's moving across the farm. We're about to see the starlings for the first time. Now, you probably know that the falcon's eyesight is far superior to human eyesight. But I'll tell you that starling's eyesight is pretty good too. And I would say if you spend your whole day watching out for things that want to eat you, you get pretty good at spotting them. We're now in the part of the video where things are going to start to get interesting, and I'm going to have to explain what's happening. So, the starlings are above roll. You're going to see them like there, periodically, as they go in and out of the frame. But they're above her, and they're safe as long as they stay above her. And her goal is to push them up, and the higher they get up in the air, the farther from refuge the starlings are. But they're in a position where they're just trying to outlast the weakest bird. And the weakest bird might be the falcon, or it could be a weaker starling that gets caught and the others escape. So it's a game of stamina. She's pushing them up, and they're climbing higher and higher. And here in a minute, you're going to see they're going to get really high up. And a normal person wouldn't imagine a flock of starlings being thousands of feet up in the air, away from any place where they're safe from a predator. But they do this. But we've collected quite a few of them now, as you can see. Now, if Roll were a wild falcon, her goal here would be to wear these birds out, and the first ones that broke to race downward in a panic, she would single one out and catch it. So the starlings, none of them wants to be the first ones to panic and dive, but that's really what is inevitable. They're in a position where that's got to happen. They're going to get exhausted. And we're about to get as close as we're going to get to them now. You can see they're pretty rattled. Those squeaking noises are them in a panic. It's their alarm call. She's never caught a wild bird. She just doesn't have that aggressive drive that some of the other birds have. But as you can see, she chases them and makes them believe they're in mortal danger. And that's what you want in the abatement world. The more aggressive your bird is toward the starlings for a longer period, it's more effective, in my opinion. Now these starlings are close to their breaking point. The point at which where they're stressed out enough and they're scared enough and tired enough that they're going to race for cover. But they're about to have a bad day, and you'll see coming up. There's some more to our story that we're about to see. So Roll has course corrected. She's no longer ascending. Okay, she's following them across the farm, and we're headed back in the direction of where I released her, where we were thinking there's some activity going on over there, but we don't know what it is yet. So that mystery is about to be solved. Now the lift is really good today, partly because of the clouds. They heat the earth unevenly. And we're about to see a little hint to the interesting thing that's about to happen. See, that Roll was looking up at something. So, oftentimes we are interlopers in the resident bird's territory. They're out hunting and they'll see me and my falcons. They'll come in and check us out, sometimes very violently. Most of the time, there's just a little chasing and maybe some vocalization. Whether they be the wild raptors or the captive birds that I'm flying, they don't want to hurt each other for the most part. They just want to say, hey, get out of my territory. And sometimes my birds will adopt the farm as their territory and defend it against these wild birds. Now Roll is about to start building speed. She's coming down after whatever had her attention a moment ago that she was looking up at. Really cooking now. And we're about to see the equivalent of a falcon hello. This is her slowing down. And look at that. Brown bird might be a Malheur stripe on the head. That could be a juvenile peregrine. if it was the same bird we saw her look up at, it probably came down in an attack on that flock of starlings she was pushing across the farm. So Roll wisely backed off, retreated. She's interacted with wild birds many times and knows that they are not to be trifled with. So we have resumed. I have edited out her backtrack. She's back up, gained her elevation back, and now she's resuming her attack on the flock of starlings. They're out there, maybe on that little island of trees, but they're beyond our eyesight, beyond the sight of this camera. And between Roll and the wild peregrine, they're having a pretty tough day. This is a good illustration of how starlings, you kick them out and they'll just fly across the farm and feed in a different spot way beyond your field of view. Only a falcon could keep track of them like this. And Roll is really picking up speed now. We're about to see them. They're coming from the lower right, but they'll be easiest to see bottom middle. There they are. You can almost feel bad for the starlings on a day like today, where they're getting worked by the wild raptors and Roll. But we got to keep them out of the grapes. That's why we're here. Now I'm going to conclude this flight. I saw her working these starlings, and although at this time I don't grasp the entirety of her flight, I know that she's been working by the GPS tracking equipment I have on her. I've been able to see that she's been chasing birds, but I don't know how aggressively she pushed them high up. This is some footage that I included of my birds ringing other flocks of starlings, and you'll be able to see that sometimes these flocks can become massive. I mean, there's not a whole lot here, but previously that was a substantial number of starlings. And they're all staying above the falcon, every one of them trying not to be the bird that gets eaten. And the falcon's pushing them, anticipating that either I'm going to feed them or a wild bird anticipates that they're going to have an opportunity when the birds break, just like these did. That little string that fled for the ground, they suddenly found themselves in pretty mortal danger. So now let's talk about the killing cone. So if you have a falcon high up, the higher it is, the bigger the killing cone is. Anything under the falcon in this area, the red area being more danger, and the orange and yellow, or the orange and green less, leaves the falcon opportunity for an attack. And it can attack in multiple ways. That's why these birds want to stay above the falcon so desperately. And here are some still images I took of my falcons in full stoop, coming down after birds that were in their killing cone. A lot of times these falcons got up high and moved over the starlings, and then they attacked. So since we talked about it, I thought I'd throw up some still images I've taken from video. This was about 5 years ago. Roll got attacked by a female peregrine. You'll see her face here in a second, to the left. And she is unhappy and pretty aggressive in her assault. Roll didn't get any injuries, but she got shook up pretty bad in the video, and I didn't know it even happened until later when I was reviewing the backpack video. But it's an example of how dangerous it can be being an abatement bird. So, to wrap up this video, I'll say that I'm going to miss Roll. She wasn't my best bird, but she was good. And she wanted to go fly every time she saw me. I'm privileged to do this job. I'm privileged to share this with you. And I hope you like these videos. Thank you for watching.